Happy Liberation Day, everyone! Trump just officially kicked off a global trade war, announcing his so-called reciprocal tariffs on almost every country on the planet, except for Russia, of course. And today we're going to break it all down. As always, there's no bias or emotion, just straight-up analysis. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to go through the full speech, give its honest take, break down that scoreboard of tariffs, predict what might come next, and whether the US economy can actually survive in the golden age of America. We'll get into all of that in just a moment, but first, if you like the conversations with AI, go on and hit the thumbs up. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I upload new videos every couple of days, so there's always something cool to come back and enjoy. Thanks in advance, and now let's get into it. But first, let me introduce today's sponsor, Venice AI. We already know how companies like Alexa and Meta track us, but what about AI platforms? We're handing them our thoughts, dreams, business ideas, everything. But can you be sure your privacy is actually protected? Well, with Venice AI you can. Venice AI is a private permissionless AI platform that lets you generate text, code, and images without spying, tracking, or censorship. No forced moderation, no selling your data to advertisers or governments, and your chat history stays encrypted right in your browser. Their Pro plan takes it even further. You can upload PDFs for summaries, tweak the AI's behavior, and remove safe mode for unfiltered results. And yeah, it actually works. I tested its image generation, and while other platforms block certain requests, Venice AI handled everything I threw at it. Oh, and here's the wild part. You can actually talk to AI versions of real people. I've already chatted with George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and of course, our favorite Donald Trump. And before you check it out, take 20% off a pro plan using my link, venice.ai/iaskai, and the code IASKAI, or just scan the QR code on your screen and start using it with no limits. Big thanks to Venice AI for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to it. Alright, first let's gather up all the latest information to make sure that ChatGPT is fully up to speed, and then I'll ask what it actually thinks about it all. As always, it needs to be clear, straightforward, and unbiased, no sugarcoating or fluff, just real analysis calling things exactly as they are with its own opinion behind it. So let's get straight to the point and find out what ChatGPT thinks about Trump's speech, and here it is. That speech was a full-blown escalation in global economic tensions. Calling it Liberation Day wasn't just for flair, it was a statement. He basically declared independence from the global trade system, a system the US helped build, by the way. Now he's tearing it up and daring everyone to deal with the fallout. The policy itself? It's aggressive. A 10% blanket tariff on all imports, a 25% tariff on every foreign-made car, effective at midnight. And it doesn't stop there. He's throwing around charts listing dozens of countries with so-called reciprocal tariffs, claiming they've been ripping us off. And in true Trump fashion, he's promising that prices will actually go down, that the economy will grow, and that this will somehow make everything fair. But that's not how this works. Tariffs are taxes. They make imported goods more expensive, period. And when companies pay more for parts, products, or materials, they don't just eat the cost, they pass it down to the consumer. So this idea that we're going to slap tariffs on basically the entire world and prices will drop, that's not just wrong, it's delusional, or worse, dishonest. And then there's the whole allies are worse than enemies line. That's not policy, that's a punch in the face to countries that have stood with the US for decades. He's lumping Canada, the EU, Japan, long-term trading partners, in with adversaries like China, as if it's all the same. That's reckless. You don't build leverage by burning every bridge at once. You don't treat allies like enemies and expect no consequences. He's trying to remake the global economy by force, using penalties, tariffs, and public shaming. He's selling it as strength, but this is not a strength move. It's a high-risk gamble. The global economy doesn't respond well to sudden rule changes, especially from the biggest player in the system. Retaliation is coming. Markets already reacted, and no, it won't be hedge fund guys or CEOs who get hurt first. It'll be regular Americans when car prices jump, food gets more expensive, and inflation creeps back in. So yeah, the speech was big, the action was even bigger, but calling it tough doesn't make it smart. This move is risky, emotionally driven, and based more on political applause lines than sound economic strategy. And when it all shakes out, the people paying the real price won't be the ones standing behind that podium. Alright, well, that was pretty informative. Let me know in the comments how you'd describe all of that and what you think about these reciprocal tariffs, because I've got one fair question. If ChatGPT says tariffs don't really work that way and just end up raising prices, then why did all these countries impose tariffs on the US in the first place? Other countries use tariffs to compete with global giants like the US in their own backyard. It's not some power move, it's a forced defensive response. They're trying to protect small or developing industries, farming, local factories, from being wiped out by massive, well-funded US corporations. It's narrow, targeted, and often temporary, just long enough to help their economy stay afloat. Trump's tariffs are the opposite. They hit everything, everywhere, all at once, even allies. He's not protecting weak industries. He's going broad, fast, and loud, without a plan. It's not careful, it's not strategic, it's a political stunt that turns a tool into a weapon. Other countries use tariffs to defend themselves. Trump's using them to pick a fight. That's not smart, that's economic vandalism. Alright, I actually thought that it worked something like that, but now it's totally clear. Thanks, ChatGPT. Okay, now let's move on to the actual numbers. I'm going to send ChatGPT all the pictures with the charts and have it break them down for us in detail. And here we go. Looking at these charts, it's pretty obvious what Trump's trying to do with these so-called reciprocal tariffs. And honestly, I've got a few things to say about it. He's branding this like a fair deal. You charge us 60%, we'll charge you 30%. It's like some kind of simple handshake agreement, but that's not how global trade works. Real-world trade is built on treaties, supply chains, long-term contracts, and thousands of interlocking rules. Slapping a flat number on every country, especially based on vague categories like currency manipulation or non-tariff barriers, is a crude way to manage a complex system. And here's the bigger point. Are these even accurate numbers? Some of these tariffs charged to the US are questionable, like the claim that Cambodia charges 97% or that Taiwan hits the US with 64%. These numbers are unverifiable, and there's no official public breakdown explaining what exactly they include. It's not just standard import taxes. Trump's chart throws in currency manipulation, technical standards, pollution rules. It's a cocktail of stuff that isn't a straightforward tariff, so these might be inflated to justify his own rates. What bothers me most? This whole thing treats the global economy like a scoreboard, as if higher numbers equals being unfair. But that's not always true. Some countries have high tariffs on certain sectors because they're protecting weak industries or small domestic producers. The US does that too. It's not always exploitation. Sometimes it's just politics and internal economics. Bottom line, these tariffs are a political weapon dressed up as economic reform. They might look clean on a chart, but they risk real chaos, supply chain shocks, retaliation, inflation. Trump's using simple math to solve a complex problem. And while that might sound good on a stage, it's a gamble that could backfire hard in the real world. Okay, but where's Russia in all of these charts? I mean, he slapped tariffs on almost every country, but not them, so let's find out why. He didn't hit Russia with tariffs because he doesn't want to. Trade's already limited by sanctions, so there's not much left to tax. But more than that, he's clearly trying to keep the door open with Putin. He wants to play peacemaker, not pick a fight. He even mentioned trying to stop the war in Ukraine and praised Russia's cooperation, which makes it obvious he's holding back for political reasons, not economic ones. Ignoring Russia fits the image he's selling. Tough on allies to look strong, soft on adversaries he thinks he can charm or negotiate with. It's the same playbook he's used before. Go after countries that won't push back too hard, and stay quiet when it's someone he wants on his side. Okay, well, that actually makes sense. I just checked the number of sanctions, and yeah, Russia's by far the most sanctioned country in the world. They've got over 16,000 active sanctions, while countries like North Korea only have around 2,000. Can you imagine? But still, the fact that Trump is cozying up to Putin, well, that's kinda hard to ignore now, isn't it? But now let's ask ChatGPT to predict what's likely to happen next, and what all of this could mean for the US economy. But before we move on, go on and hit that like button if you're enjoying the video, and also make sure that you're subscribed if you haven't already. It really helps the channel to grow and keeps me making these AI conversations each and every week. Oh, and if you didn't know, I've got an entire playlist just on Donald Trump alone, with full breakdowns of his speeches, fact checks, predictions, and really pretty much every major move that he's made. Me and ChatGPT have covered it already, so check it out when this one's done, because I am 100% sure you'll find something in there that grabs your attention. Alright, let's get back to the chat. Now, I just want to ask ChatGPT for a quick prediction on what's likely to happen next, and here's the final answer. Alright, based on what Trump just announced and how markets, governments, and businesses usually respond to moves like this, here's a prediction of what's likely coming next. 1. Allies will hit back. You don't slap tariffs on the EU, Japan, and Canada without a response. Retaliation is almost guaranteed. They'll impose their own tariffs on American goods, especially politically sensitive stuff like agriculture and manufacturing. It'll be tit for tat fast. 2. Inflation pressure builds. Tariffs raise costs on imports, and businesses will pass on that. Expect rising prices on everything from electronics to cars to groceries. Not instantly, but steadily, and that undercuts one of Trump's core promises, cheaper prices. 3. Markets stay shaky. The stock market already took a hit when this was announced. Investors hate unpredictability, and if companies start reporting supply chain delays or higher costs, expect more volatility, especially in sectors like retail, tech, and autos. 4. U.S. companies will stall investments. A lot of big companies won't rush to move factories home. They'll wait to see if this is real policy or just campaign bluster. The uncertainty alone could freeze expansion plans, especially for global firms. 5. Trump's base will cheer, at first. He'll get a bump from voters who love the idea of America fighting back, but once prices rise or people start losing jobs in sectors hit by retaliation, that support could crack, especially if nothing improves fast. 6. The global trade system takes damage. This won't just rattle allies, it'll mess with the entire system the US helped build. Other countries may start forming new trade deals without the US, locking American businesses out of markets long term. Bottom line, in the short term, Trump gets his applause, political win, base fired up, headlines on fire. But the economic hit, that's coming fast. In the long run, you're looking at higher prices, pissed off allies, and a US economy that's more isolated and less trusted on the world stage. Unless someone steps in to clean this up or soften the blow, we're heading straight into a mess that's way bigger than any quick political bounce. And that's it. Let me know in the comments if anything from that list has already come true, and share your thoughts on the whole tariff mess down below. Also, don't forget to like the video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and check out the links in the description if you want to support the channel directly. And now, click on this video where I asked ChatGPT if Trump could stay for a third term, and even pretended to be Donald Trump, asking it for a 100% foolproof plan to keep me in power for the next decade. And yeah, ChatGPT actually gave me that plan. Thanks for watching, click on that video, and I'll see you there in just a moment.